Hey, welcome back to Big Sexy Chat. My name's Crystal.
I'm Murph.
Hey, Murph. We're so happy to have all of
Hi,
you here with
Crystal.
our thank you, part of our community. Murph and I just love doing this. We have so much fun and we're so excited. This recording, we have a very special guest. Her name is Sydney. And if you've ever been to a Curvy Girl fashion show when I had my boutique, you might recognize her. She dressed up as a very beautiful, lovely, very innocent bride at our fashion show. And yeah, she had even like a little bouquet with her. She was carrying down the aisle. One of the most very memorable moments from the fashion show. So welcome, Sydney.
Well, thank you. I'm
My
so glad to be
pleasure.
here. Modeling Curvy Girl was a big fun.
It
Huge,
was so
huge
fun.
fun for me.
If I had $1 billion, I'd open another Curvy
It was
Girl
great to be
episode.
around so many big girls.
I know, it's very powerful being around a lot of other fat people. It's really powerful.
It is.
I love being in
If
community.
I had $1 billion, I'd open it up for you.
Yeah, if I had I need $1 billion though, not $1 million. So tonight we're going to talk about polyamory, and Sydney she's somewhat of an expert. At least, she's practicing, and we have a million questions for her. So I'm going to turn it over to Murph. She can start with the questions. If I have any follow-up questions, I'll let you guys know.
I think we'll
Awesome.
just start out by saying that, Sydney, we're going to need you back for round 2 on polyamory.
Yes.
I kind of figured that.
Yeah, we received so many questions.
I've no doubt. I'll try and cover as much as I can. And I'm by no means an expert in polyamory in general. I'm more, I know what I know from experience, from research, and from community.
Mm-hmm.
I have been in a polyamorous relationship solidly for the last 5 years. But I have identified as polyamorous for about 10. And I will get into more details about that because I hate to say identify and all that because it feels like it's taking away from the LGBTQ alphabet soup community. And that community is so important. And the people who come out and show themselves, you don't want to take away from that. But there is a certain measure of coming out involved with being involved in polyamory.
Absolutely. So speaking of polyamory, we have a varied audience. So I want to kind of scale back and say, can you tell us a little bit about polyamory and how it's different from monogamy?
Yes. So this one's pretty easy. Polyamory is a relationship style or type that falls under the heading of what's widely known as ethical non-monogamy, or ENM. I will get into later why I have troubles with that particular phrase. But anyway, ENM is an umbrella type phrase that encompasses a variety of different relationship styles that are non-monogamous. But specifically, polyamory comes from 2 words, poly, meaning multiple, amory, from the word amor, meaning love. So it's multiple loves. So how it differs from cheating which is always the question people want to know, like how is this not cheating? 2 really important things. 1, consent, enthusiastic consent from all parties. Okay. And the second one is a lack of deceit. When you have to employ deceit in order to engage with another human, that's cheating. Nobody likes that, even in E&M. I'm just saying.
Can I interject here? Because people sometimes ask me, oh, my husband, this and that, is this cheating? I said, look, everybody's definition of cheating is different. So I can't tell you whether or not that's considered cheating because I don't know what kind of rules or guidelines you have for your relationship. Now, if there was lying involved, to me, that seems like whatever it is, it was probably cheating. But don't you agree, Murph? Everybody has their own definition.
Yeah,
what's
everyone
cheating.
does have their own definition of what cheating is. I mean, I've heard things like looking at other people's profiles on the internet is considered cheating for some folks, where, another one is on the other end of that spectrum is a relationship where I don't talk about the other things that we're doing, and that's not, that's not
Very Bill
cheating, but
Clinton.
yes,
No,
yeah.
that's no tell.
But at the core of all of that, everything you've described is the deceit. That's why I say cheating is about deceit.
Yep.
Right.
Whether you are being deceitful about engaging with someone on the internet or looking at pictures of other people, you have to keep it a secret or you have to lie about it, you cheated. Whatever it is, whatever form it comes in. And that's the very big difference between E&M relationships and cheating. That's why the ethical part is added to the ethical non-monogamy, because it's non-monogamous, but everybody's in on it.
Monogamish.
That's a style as well. We could get into that as well. Now, for me, like I said, it's E&M is an umbrella. There's polyamory, there's swinging. Those are the two most common. There are, and swinging is more to be distinguished from polyamory in that swinging is very sex-based. And by the way, no judgment
Nope.
in any of this.
Nope.
Everything I'm saying, no judgment. If
Nope.
you are into swinging, swing on.
Mm-hmm.
If you are into polyamory, grand. But there's no, but swinging is definitely more sex focused as opposed to polyamory, which is very much about relationships and the cultivation of those relationships on a romantic scale. So there's that big distinction. For me, I have a very unique dynamic. I have been married for 15 yeah, I've been married for 15 years. And to a man, to a man. And he, at this time, chooses to remain monogamous. He recognizes that I am polyamorous. I have a wife, who is my bestie. Like, we are more than just friends, but we do not have sex ever. So but she is still, our relationship is deeper than I would hate to say average, but deeper than friendship. We even had a ceremony in Vegas to commemorate our our union. It was so much fun. Holy cow!
How long have you two been together, Sydney?
She and I have been together 6 years.
Cool.
6, yeah. Yeah, she is just awesome. She is the best. And then I have 2 other partners. They are both male. By the way, my husband, he and I we nest. We are nesting partners. We also co-parent.
Mm-hmm.
I do not live with my wife. She lives with her boyfriend. So he is my metamor, which is the relationship of my relationship. So he is he's an extension. He is not, and we are not engaged with one another. I mean, we're friends. He's a great guy, but we don't have a relationship. His relationship is with her. So it is very separate. But I do also have 2 other male partners also who do not live with me. We do not nest. Those relationships are sexual.
I was just going to ask you that question. I don't want to be rude.
They are sexual.
Okay.
But they are more than that. They're not just rooted in that. They are actual relationships that require all the same things that any other, even a monogamous relationship, would require. The trick I found, and this is kind of a joke amongst the E&M community, it's really all about Google Calendar, folks. It's how you keep relationships on track.
Sure.
Communication.
So yeah, that's
calendars.
Exactly. No, and communication is vital. That's how you achieve that all important enthusiastic consent. It's because all parties have talked, not necessarily all together one another. That's certainly a style of polyamory known as kitchen table. But that's not how I operate. Because I have a child, my relationship tends to be a little more hierarchical. And that's for the safety, welfare, security of my child. Not that my relationships are unsafe, but I put that as the priority for my child in maintaining and considering my husband, the father of my child, is a part of that. But he's extremely open, loving, tolerant, considerate. I could go on. The man's a saint. So,
awesome. So you mentioned E&M, so ethical non-monogamy. Tell me about the ethical part of this. What does that mean?
That means that, again, no deceit, meaning you are very upfront, open, honest, clear, communicating about the fact that you engage in other relationships or partners and so on. It's all very open, super transparent, so that there are no surprises, no secrets, nothing of that kind. And that's the ethical nature involved there. The problem I have with that phrase, though, of ethical non-monogamy, is that it, by its phrasing, kind of connotes that there is non-ethical non-monogamy. And that's called cheating, y'all. We already have a word for that. We already have a word. So let's just call it non-monogamy. And everybody's upfront about it. Okay,
right.
So just in. Let's leave that E off because it's kind of redundant and superfluous.
The word ethical non-monogamy always makes you think of the book Ethical Slut.
A book I do not recommend.
Oh, really?
No, I have some books that I would recommend and some sources I would recommend, but that's not one of them.
Let's put those in the notes after when we have the show.
I absolutely will.
Oh, right. Awesome.
Yes. But yeah, E&M is, as it's known, non-monogamy is my preference. Like I said, it's an umbrella for a whole lot of stuff. Also included, like I mentioned that there are certain relationship styles and polyamory types or NM relationship types. Like I mentioned, swinging, then there's open relationships. And then basically in an open relationship is both parties usually in a monogamous couple are open to seeing other partners. But there's no pressure. It's just like, oh, hey, I met this other person. Or, oh, hey, it's a much more any structure within that relationship is determined by those people involved in that relationship in opening it up. They usually have like terms and conditions, otherwise known as boundaries, as all relationships, even monogamous relationships have. So what I hope people are going to get from this is that there really aren't a whole lot of differences between monogamy and non-monogamy, other than there's more players.
Yeah.
Because monogamy still requires you to be communicative. That's vital, y'all.
One thing I've heard people say that are in poly relationships or swinging relationships, full swap, half swap, blah, blah, blah. So much more talking than sex. And the people think, they imagine that there's just so much sex, right? But there's so much more talking than sex. Is that true?
So much.
So much
Oh my
processing.
God.
Have to
Like,
process.
yes. And it's what's really funny to me is that people, this is why it always cracks me up when people say, oh, it's just about sex. Man, if you knew how much not sex there is going on, there's so much talking. I mean, to the point where you're like, are we going to ever have sex? We should talk about it. Like, my goodness. I feel like this is like a summit of some sort. Like, I mean,
Sex
but
summit.
that's right. But that's super healthy, and it's what it should be if
Mhm.
for all parties to genuinely feel comfortable and feel trust, which is really what all relationships want to be based on, whether they're non-monogamous or monogamous. You want trust. And the best way to get that is full transparency. So that's really what that's all about.
And when you bring that up, Sydney, I think one of the things, at least like the myths or, you know, the things that people think about when they think about polyamorous relationships is that everyone who's involved is kinky.
Well, everyone who's involved in monogamy is kinky. So why would all the people in non-monogamy be kinky? Just saying, guys. Just saying. Everybody's different. I'm going to tell you, there are some, I have, like I said, I have an unusual relationship dynamic, but I also know other people with interesting and unusual relationships. I have a couple of friends that are polyamorous. Currently, they are nesting partners, and they've been together, oh God, I don't know, like 10, maybe 15 years. They've been together a long time. In any case, they're aces. They're asexual. And they are open to other people. They have had other partners individually and together, but they don't have sex with these partners. They don't have sex with one another. So no, kinky isn't a prerequisite. Okay, because sex isn't. So there you go.
A really important point to make. You know, when people talk about polyamory or swinging or any of that stuff, it's all just like these heathen sex addicts, you know, that's like you can't contain it in your own relationship. You can't make monogamy work. So you're going to just fit into this crowd of people. It's nice to hear the other side of that, of like, it's so much about relationships that it sometimes doesn't even involve the sex, or the sex comes second, because the relationship is really the foundation.
It is. And it cracks me up also when people say, oh, well, you're just like that because you're afraid of commitment. Are you kidding me? With as many relationships, genuine relationships as people engaged in, I doubt that commitment has nothing to do with it. Let me explain why I finally recognized that I was polyamorous. For me, and I'm totally just speaking for me, it felt utterly selfish and ridiculous for me to expect that one human was going to be my everything. Because I'm a whole damn lot, y'all. It takes a village. Okay? I'm just being honest. Okay? I'm a lot. And to keep loving me, and giving me and nurturing me with all the things that I need, and heap that on one human, that's just mean. And I just can't do it. Nor would I expect another human to do that for, you know, I couldn't do it. I can't. That's exhausting. And as exhausting as it can be to juggle so many relationships, we kind of do that anyway, even as monogamous people, because we have to balance our romantic relationships with our parents, children, if you got them, siblings, friends. I mean, we have a lot of relationships that we already juggle quite well in most cases. So yeah, just again, a lot of similarities, aren't there?
Absolutely.
It's just more folk.
Like you said, we're just adding more people to the mix. That's really all.
Mhm. Exactly.
Hey, there's a question here about processing.
Yeah. So processing is a multifunctional kind of a aspect of things. Processing basically can be both the vetting process of bringing someone into introducing them into your polycule, which is like your family, and another type of processing is processing of relationship dynamics, information, if there's a fallout. Basically it's similar to like relationship autopsy. So like, yeah. So those are the two types of processing that I'm aware of, and I make sure that I practice in my relationships. I don't, it's kind of like, and for the people who have children will understand this very well. If you've been divorced or you have kids and you're single parent, the process you go through of introducing your child to someone, you want to be super careful. Same thing with those established relationships. You don't necessarily want to bring somebody in who's going to cause an implosion, which, by the way, would ultimately be on you, because you would be the connection and you need to make sure that you're making communication lines very clear amongst all the parties that are involved with you. So yeah, there's different types of processing, maybe different for other people, but those are the two types of processing that I actively practice. I did want to go back to something.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
I was going to say, everybody in your polycule has to practice radical honesty.
Everybody in E&M needs to practice radical honesty.
Absolutely.
Everybody. Yeah. So, but going back to when we were talking about like some of the dynamics of E&M polyamory, I want to get into some of the demographics. Like, who the heck are these people and where did they come from?
Oh, the Bay Area.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
They are everywhere. They are everybody. They are tall, short, fat, skinny, all points in between. They are old, young. There are a lot of older folk that are polyamorous. I would have to say the biggest concentration that I've seen from my soft polling has been, there are a lot of people who identify or have been diagnosed as some form of neurodivergent. We are able to process the concept of multiplicity better than neurotypical folk tend to be, because we're able to compartmentalize a little bit better. It's part of our own survival, depending upon our specific diagnosis. That seems to be kind of across the board. Now, mind you, I'm no scientist, but as far as speaking with as many people as I have in the polyamory community, we all seem to notice the same thing. That, oh yeah, I am too. Oh yeah. Oh, you have ADHD. Oh, me too. Or, oh, you're on the spectrum. Oh yeah, me too. Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. Yes, Crystal.
When you say demographics and they're more mature, are we talking about the aging hippies that are 60s and 70s and they're like still practicing this free love? No? Okay.
No, the boomers did that in their 20s and they're done for the most part. The boomers that are on the cusp of like Gen X, that's the group that we're talking about. We're talking about Gen X. We're talking about millennials and pretty much everybody under that. And I think, it's just my own personal theory, I think that part of that is because almost all of us are products of some sort of blended family due to divorce. So we've had to restructure our idea of what family looks like to begin with. And in doing so, we've opened ourselves up to recognizing that it is okay to reject monogamy if that's just not your vibe. because I'll be honest with you, it never felt right.
Yeah.
It never felt right for me, ever. Always felt like, why? But my question is, well, why only one? I don't even have a favorite color, y'all. Because why?
Yeah.
I'm a Skittles girl. I'll taste the damn rainbow. I don't care. I like.
Well, plus now people live so much longer. And, I always hear this theory, you should not judge a relationship by how long it lasts, but by how deep it goes. And my friend Reed, who's a
Right.
sex geek, he's the first person I ever said that. I don't know who said it first, but why? Okay, when we used to live to be 40, makes sense. You had one partner. You live to be 100. Does it really make sense to only have one partner? Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't for some people. But that's a lot of years to just have one love, one deep friendship or partnership. Like it's a different world.
It is. It's so funny. That reminds me of something my mom used to say all the time when she would talk about her long marriage to my dad. They were married for 34 years until she died. And but she used to tell me, because I tell her, Mom, I'm more mentally, emotionally prepared to be a mother than I am to be a wife. I don't think I can ever really be a wife. And she says, darling, I understand, because that's a lot of years of oatmeal every morning. And I was like, oh yeah. She goes, and I don't care how much raisin you put in it and honey and all the other stuff you can put in oatmeal. It's still oatmeal, baby. Be sure you really like oatmeal. I was like, oh, I'm out. I'm out. No.
Yeah.
So
Long-term relationships are a different challenge. Sorry, Murph, go ahead.
no, you're great. I'm just curious, in dealing with the dynamics of the relationship, what kind of things happen with jealousy or disagreements? Like, how do you handle those types of situations?
Each relationship deals with those things individually. There is really generally no all one right way to handle anything. And it also heavily depends on the specifics that were kind of agreed upon in the boundaries set within that relationship, because every relationship has boundaries. So, but beyond that, how I deal with jealousy is I'm one of those rare humans that doesn't get jealous, but I recognize jealousy. I understand from what it stems. I've always been the girl who, even with a boyfriend, and we'd be out and stuff, and I'd see a really pretty girl, like, ooh, look at her, she's hot. And I would never, it wasn't a trap, it wasn't setting them up. But as far as on an emotional relationship scale, I have had partners that have been jealous, and we've had to just sit down and work that out. Jealousy is a very personal emotion. It is a natural emotion, and I think it gets a bad rap. It's okay to feel jealous. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel a whole lot of emotions. What's not okay is if you allow those emotions to make you behave in a negative or hurtful manner. So feel the jealousy, feel it, sit with it, break it down, process it, figure out what it stems from. Basically, it generally boils down to some insecurities. And the person who's feeling jealous will have to deal with that themselves. Their partners, though, my job as a partner in dealing with my partner who feels jealous is to remind them that they are secure in this relationship, for as secure as they can be. No relationship is permanent, except for parenting. Kind of, that's your gig.
Yeah.
But for me, I make it clear up front. I believe wholeheartedly in unconditional love. I love you no matter what you've done, no matter what you do. If I love you, I love you. Period. Now, that does not mean that I'd have no boundaries. That does not mean that if I feel my boundaries have been violated, then I'm not going to show you the door, because I can still love you from a distance, but you go way over there with all of that. But yeah, as far as like dealing with jealousy, it really is about me letting my partner know, I love you. You are here. We are together. You are in my life. I have no intention of dismissing you from my life. And so on. Again, communication. Key. Yes, Crystal.
Hashtag boundaries are sexy.
That.
And
Yes,
then,
boundaries, communication, and lube, y'all.
yes, good lube. And the womanizer. Do you know about this term compersion?
I love that term, compersion, and there's a companion
like
term to that word,
Yeah.
known more in the psych world as Freudenfruit, which is basically the joy of joy. You are joyful of the joy of someone else's joy. It sounds
Right.
silly, but what really is silly about it is we have been practicing this. We've experienced this. This is something that every single person has felt the whole of their lives. Every time someone you love tells you good news, and you're like, oh, wow, that's awesome, and you genuinely feel happy for them, that's compersion. Here's where the hiccup comes along. People don't seem to be able to translate that into romantic relationships, and that is what has to come to a stop. Learn to be joyful about your partner's joy, even if that joy is a newfound love. Even if, if that's the case, then I'm happy you're happy. What about this person makes you feel so happy? That's what I always ask. What about them's making you so happy? What are they doing for you that makes you feel this joy? And usually I hear some awesome thing about this person. I'm like, this is great. I am happy for you.
Cool.
That's what compersion is really all about. And some people say it's the opposite of jealousy, but I don't really believe that, because you can have compersion and you can have jealousy at the same time.
Absolutely. I think of like just the easiest thing of like, we watch movies, lighthearted comedies and romantic comedies and those kind of things for the compersion. Like, we want to have that happy ending and the positive feeling and all that kind of stuff. So that absolutely makes sense. But we don't translate it to our partners and our personal relationships.
No.
And, I think that really stems.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. Our culture just doesn't respect the fact that that's available for other people, because then it's not, it's not deemed as quote special or whatever it is they want to, say that only having one partner will do for you.
Well, I think the hiccup on that is, if you're with one of your partners, be with that partner. That's how you make them feel special. How many times have you been in a conversation with somebody and you're having this conversation and they're like looking past you, and you could tell they're half listening, they're distracted, they're not giving you their full attention. That's when you don't feel special. But when someone has locked in on you, is listening to everything you have to say, is engaging with you openly, honestly, showing affection, compassion, just sharing all that a healthy relationship should share in that moment and outside of that moment, guess what? Doesn't matter how many other people might be when they leave, because it's about you right now.
Yeah. I think one of the things too, and this isn't in the questions, but it kind of triggered when you were talking about it, the thought of, I'm sure so many people really get hung up on, you can't have multiple relationships, right? So at some point you've got to just like, you got to like bring that person into the bedroom, and it's got to be like you and your other partner that you have a relationship with. Oh, you're going to bring them into the bedroom too, right? Like, there's just these misconceptions and these crazy myths that are perpetuated by that.
100%. I cannot tell you how many times I get asked, oh, so like, what kind of bed do y'all have? Because that's a lot of people. And I'm like, oh my God, really? First of all, I'm not sharing my mattress preference with you. Secondly, it's not all of us together. That's why I said it's about polyamory. If you want that together sex thing, that's called swinging, and go have it. Knock yourself out.
But people do think it
there's
means a
plenty
lot
of
of
that.
threesomes and foursomes and fivesomes,
Me
and you guys,
too.
it's just
It's
sex,
like,
sex, sex.
whew, that's a lot of sexual acrobatics. I'm just saying.
Totally. And then you have to also, if you're fluid bonded, you have to think about that too.
Well, yeah, that's another thing. It's, that's part of the boundaries thing that you may set within your relationship.
Sure.
That, like out of respect for myself and my body and my need to, be safe and try and do everything possible to be around for my son, my son for the rest of my life. Is that I take certain precautions. Condoms are a must. Not because I'm, afraid of pregnancy or something like that, but hello, safety, y'all.
Yep.
I'm just saying. So yeah. And I do that also because, one of the boundaries that my husband and I have established is, it's just like traveling. It's fun to go see the world, but they're just some souvenirs you don't want to bring home.
True.
So that's right.
I prefer not to bring home those souvenirs.
Absolutely.
Leave them somewhere else.
Now, I think we kind of touched on this, but I think there's something to be said for this concept of like people think, oh, well, you must be dissatisfied. You must not be getting something from your husband. So this is, you're turning to other people to fulfill this void or this need. What would you say to something like that?
I would say that they're reducing my other relationships to back scratchers, and shame on you. What do you do with a back scratcher? You get an itch, you scratch the back, you put it back in the drawer, you're done, you walk away. You don't think about that back scratcher. That back scratcher served its purpose and you're out. And if that's what you're looking for, great. That's for you. I recommend swinging. Okay. I recommend that. But that's not the case. With me, my husband and I have it's been an interesting ride. I mean, don't get me wrong, no marriage is perfect. But my husband and I deeply have unconditional love for one another. There is literally nothing going on in my life that I cannot tell my husband and that he cannot tell me.
That's great.
We share absolutely everything. And that is based on trust and love and all the super important things that healthy relationships are based on. So no, I wasn't seeking something outside of him because, he's got a deficiency. Are you kidding me? That man is a rock. He's holding up the sky for us. Like, he's the best. What other relationships I have are based on a need for me to give more love and receive more love, period. And it has nothing to do with him being deficient and just everything to do with how I'm built.
No one person can meet all of your needs. I mean,
Bingo.
That's why we have girlfriends and guy friends and our parents and our cousins, and we share certain things with each of them and a part of us, and they share with us back. And you have all kinds of people in your life anyway. Why does it matter to people? I know it's like evangelical Christian people that I think you're just, a whore.
Yeah, that's fine. That's okay. It's so funny. You should say I'm a whore. So in my family, my mother was kind of old fashioned in a lot of ways, and a whole lot of ways she was not. Anyway, the running deal with my grandmother was only loose women, only harlots wear red nail polish, and a proper lady always wears pearls. Every day of my life, I've got both. Got to keep a balance. That's all I'm saying. I wear a pearl every day of my life, and my nails are always red. So keeping that balance.
Or red.
One thing I did want to go back on with regard to a relationship, if having a relationship and your partner's not giving you something that you want or need or whatever. If you are in a situation where you feel that your partner is not giving you something that you want or need, I recommend, again, I'm no psychologist. I'm not a therapist, but this is what I recommend. Talk to them. Don't expect them to figure out what it is that you are missing or needing or wanting, because that's selfish. And an expectation is something we hold within ourselves and don't verbalize. But if you verbalize that thing, you now turned it into something actionable.
Yep.
You can then give your partner the option of saying, oh, that sounds like fun. Or, oh, we could try that. It doesn't sound like something I'd be necessarily into, but I'm not opposed to it. I mean, you open the floodgates of possibility. But if you're just holding on to, well, my wife or my husband just won't do blah, blah, blah. How do you know? Did you ask?
More than once.
Right. And how did you ask? Did
Right.
you ask during sex, or did you ask right during a fight? Or pick your moment, people.
Yeah, this came up with our interview with our pro dom. People can't read your mind, and you have to say exactly what you need and want, and say it out loud. And sometimes you have to ask more than once or twice. And it should be in a situation where you're not mad at each other. You're not just even just finish having sex. Maybe you're having a nice dinner out with a drink, and you can say, babe, let's talk about our relationship. Let's talk about our life in our bedroom. Let's have a conversation.
The one question that I always encourage people to go ahead and ask during sex is, how can I make this more enjoyable for you? I promise you, gentlemen, if you are listening and you say that question to your partner, especially your female partner, I promise you, the floodgates of lubrication will just pour on out. Women love to know that you are genuinely interested in how they feel and what they want. If you say, how can I make this more enjoyable for you? What you're doing is you are telling your partner, one, I'm interested in you and making you feel really good. And two, and this is really important, you are telling your partner, I'm giving you an opportunity to help correct me if I'm doing something that you don't like or prefer, but I'm doing it in a way that lets you know that I'm not going to be hurt at your answer. I'm open to hearing what you have to say. Let's do this together. And y'all, that shit's sexy.
Very.
That is sexy.
I think I've shared this in other episodes, but when my partner reminds me to breathe, I'm like, he just told me to breathe. He cares about my orgasm. That's so hot to me.
Right. Right? You're like, oh, he cares. Oh,
He
yeah.
cares.
Right.
That's hot.
Very hot.
That's very hot. Now this is a little bit pop culture-ish, and I'm sure that, like 2 years from now, people are going to be like, wait, what? Huh? Like go back to think about it. But the slap heard round the world. Will Smith walking up and slapping Chris Rock. The internet responded to that with lots of comments about their Jada and Will's relationship. And there was a lot of discussion about, well, it's because of their open relationship that, he got mad and he went up there and slapped Chris Rock because of this, blah, blah, blah. Tell me a little bit about how the poly community responded to that, and just the misinformation and the myths that you all face in those situations.
Well, though I cannot speak for the whole of the community, the folks that I'm in touch with, we all laughed our asses off at that notion, because that man slapped Chris Rock in defense of his partner. One can do that in a monogamous relationship too. You do. In fact, more often than not, that's what happens. is that one person angers another person in defense of I'm just saying, like, this has happened the world over. So to blame it on polyamory is just ridiculous. The two things have nothing to do with one another. And I would ask that any person who has that notion completely remove it, because it has nothing to do with it. That their relationship structure had nothing to do with that man being unhappy and genuinely angered that someone tried to insult his wife, his spouse, his partner. That's what that was about. Had nothing to do with the relationship. Period.
Yeah, and I think that's a difficult thing for, people always look for a reason, right? And well, these two things, seem like you could put that together and then that must be the answer, the correlation equals causation kind of thing. But I think that's something really important for our, for our community to recognize, hey, polyamorous relationships really have to do about the relationship, not about this like jealousy based, go get him because I'm upset kind of response. It has nothing to do with that. So I appreciate your feedback on that. So where would
you can have jealousy and anger and monogamy?
Absolutely. I think how many bar fights have been started because, some guy talked to some, you talk to my girl, and then boom,
there's music, songs. I can was there a Carrie Underwood famous song about taking a Louisville Slugger to headlights and such. Right. This is about jealousy, and they weren't polyamorous. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, Loretta Lynn of Fist City. Hello. That's about taking some woman out and they were not, they were monogamous. So please, get out of here with that silliness.
Exactly. Talk about resources for the community. Tell us a little bit about, what are ways that people can learn more about this? Because I think a lot of folks have a lot of myths and misconceptions. They have a lot of misinformation. They're going off of stereotypes and things like that. Where can they find legitimate and legitimate and non-judgmental, when somebody's trying to seek out that information? Where can they find those kind of resources?
What I would recommend is definitely do some homework. Some really good sources. 3 books come to mind. The first one is More Than Two. It's a great book dealing with ethical non-monogamy, polyamory specifically. There's another one, Polysecure is another great book that talks about the dynamics within a polyamorous relationship and how to process things, what types of relationship styles that there are. Like I had mentioned before, there's like, kitchen table poly. There are some people who are relationship anarchist. There are people who are monogamish. There are people who are, there's just a variety of relationship styles. And that book is really good about discussing some of those specific dynamics. There's also a really good book called Love's Not Colorblind, and it deals with race and representation in polyamorous and other alternative relationships. Because that's one of the other issues, especially for me in particular, being a Black woman, and in the Black community, there's some issues with regard to polyamory. So some issues. We can get into those in later or now or whatever, but those are some great resources. Those are 3 really good resources. Also, there's an excellent podcast, Polyphilia. The chick that runs that is awesome. Okay. She's in Hong Kong. She is, I believe, a psychologist. She's a therapist, and she is in a poly relationship. She has some amazing guests and insights into polyamory. Her guests are always so interesting. So yeah, if you're interested in learning more about that, I would recommend starting there. Of course, you can always find like groups, local groups. I mean, you Google
Sure.
it. My heavens,
Yeah.
you can't throw a rock on Google and not find what the heck you're looking for.
So, Sydney, other fat people are in polyamorous relationships. You're not the only one.
Okay, so in my relationship, in my polycule, there are three of us just in my relationship.
Okay.
And that's something I want to stress. Okay. Literally, when I said demographics before, there's some of everybody. Some of everybody.
Yeah.
I have not been as active in the fat community as I have wanted to be, because I had other things that have kind of stood out as a activism priority.
Mm-hmm.
Can't imagine what those could be.
Yeah. Can't
My
imagine.
lovely tan stands out. Anyway, but it always saddens me to hear, particularly fat women, even fat men, talk about how they have a hard time finding, partners and stuff, and they're
Dating.
shy about that. And I'm like, child, I have not been single on a Saturday night or a Friday night unless I really wanted to be.
We say that a lot.
And
here.
that's the same for you, I assure you.
Mhm.
You look and you will find who you need. You will find there's a lid for every pot, as my grannies. So, and there are lots of fat people, and particularly here in the Bay Area, that are
Yeah.
polyamorous. We're a wide and diverse group.
I used to do a lot of sex toy parties at sex parties. Everybody under the sun. Everybody. Shape,
Yep.
size, age, color, religion, everybody. Just your
Oh, yeah.
DMV. Everybody just normal,
that's
just
the truth.
everybody.
It is like the DMV.
Just a little bit of everyone,
Everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing that I always have, like I mentioned before, is an issue is like amongst the Black community. There's the notion of it only being for men, like, because within the Black community, there's something known as the side chick.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of something that's been under the table accepted to a certain degree,
Mm-hmm.
and not really talked a lot about unless you're angry and you want to dish and throw shade and all that, which is ridiculous. But there's more and more women
Cool.
that are recognizing and accepting their polyamory and partnering with people who appreciate that and who appreciate them. And I would love to see more acceptance within that community in particular. We accept one penis policy with that nonsense of the side chick. Why the heck can't we? That OPP goes two ways, boo boo. That P in the middle can stand for a whole. that P on the end can stand for a whole lot of stuff. I'm just saying.
The other thing I
so
noticed when I was
yeah.
at those parties, it would be like gay people, straight people, trans people, bi people, every
Everybody.
spectrum of sexuality. It just and
Everybody.
gender of gender expression.
Fluid.
Everybody.
Oh yeah.
Totally. Yes.
No. Honestly, there really is.
It's awesome.
There really is just some of everybody. Young, old, everybody in between.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But for me, what I would like to see is more acceptance and understanding and appreciation for alternative relationship styles within like the Black community. That would make my heart happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you fat folk out there to know that yes, you too can have more than one love if that's
Absolutely.
what you're into. Just be open and honest with yourself first,
Right,
so that you can be open and honest with your partners next. And that's the key.
And I really want side dick to become a thing instead of side chick. I want side dick.
Side dick.
Child, I want you to know. I'm against side anything. Don't have it on the side. Why gotta be to the side? Just if you're open and honest, it's just next.
Just
There's
dick.
no side, it's next.
Just dick. Dick is plentiful. I say that
Yeah.
a lot.
That. It's, just be honest, and you too can have all the dick that you can handle.
Murph.
All the relationship your calendar can hold.
Oof, right. Murph, do we have other questions before we talk to her about her favorite sex toy?
We have one more question. And it
Go for
is,
it.
do you think that polyamory will one day be accepted in the same way monogamy is now?
Not in my lifetime, but I think eventually it will be. Like I was saying before, that the relationship structures have shifted drastically with the rise of divorce over previous years and previous decades, and because of that, alternative relationship types have already cropped up. So many have cropped up. It only makes sense that in the evolution of human interaction, that polyamory and its and E&M and its many umbrella types would be something that would come up. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I was going to say something to y'all too about that. Well, not about this specifically, but with regard to having meeting your person, if you're interested in meeting people and all that kind of thing.
How do you do that?
That it's not hard. It's relatively simple. It's basically the same way that you met the other people. The same rules apply.
Okay.
The difference being, and it shouldn't be a difference, is the issue I take is you have got to be honest about your polyamory up front. Be honest up front from the jump. And in doing so, you might either be like, ooh, I'm not into that. And then they walk away and you're not hurt. They're not hurt. And everybody's happy. Next. Or they're, oh, really? Oh, cool. Because so am I. That's the other response you'll get, which is awesome. And then, y'all could proceed like you would have any other time. The one thing I caution people who are thinking about opening up the relationship and, we want to do not unicorn hunt. Hear me. Do not unicorn hunt.
So explain that.
Do not seek a third wheel. Okay. Unicorn hunting is typically where a monogamous couple want to introduce a third person to and become a triad together, where they're sharing this person like a Snickers bar. It's the worst. Like, really, that's a lot to heap on this one person. Now, if something naturally forms in that direction, congratulations, you found your unicorn. But don't hunt for them. You are there. It's damaging. It's dangerous. It's hurtful for everybody involved. I have seen more relationships bust up over that sad, ridiculous activity. If you're gonna be non-monogamous, be non-monogamous individually. If you both happen upon the same person and you both happen to like that person a lot and happen to want to engage with that person, and that person is okay with engaging with both of y'all or all of y'all or whatever, congratulations again, you have found your unicorn. And I wish y'all well. But don't go hunting them down. It's disgusting. Don't do that.
Why am I reminded of the Pina Colada song?
Well, I mean, think about it. Right? You both, yeah. Like, you like pina coladas too.
They found each other. Oops.
That's awesome. If you find each other and it works out, then great. But by specifically going out and typically what happens in that too is that they're searching for for a bisexual woman.
Yeah,
Oh God.
What like
I quit y'all.
it's icky.
Oof, it's so gross. It's so gross. Just don't do that.
Well, then we're going to change the topic and talk about something not gross. Let's talk about your
Yes.
favorite vibrator.
Oh my God, it's so wonderful. I wish I had brought it to show it on camera. It's so lovely. So
Looking. Oh,
right, just like, wait, do I have it? The Womanizer Inside Out. Y'all, game changer. Game changer.
worth the
Now, I
hype.
always loved the Womanizer. It's a wonderful, wonderful toy. And y'all have talked about this one before. But the Inside Out.
Okay, what the
It
inside?
handles you from the inside to the outside. So it goes in, and then there's a part that comes out, and if the Womanizer part is on the clit, and then there's another vibrating portion that cups kind of up under onto your G spot,
Hello.
which is wonderful for those of us who have sensitive G spots and typically also can achieve orgasm through penetration. Not everybody can. It's
Right.
not a deficiency. It's just how you work. No problem.
Yep.
You're still good. But honey child,
I forgot about
it
that
was
Germany
almost a
child.
religious experience.
You got a new religion?
Whew, mercy. Whew, baby.
Yeah, we're
All
fans.
hell, the Womanizer Inside Out.
I need to get that one. I need to get a supplier for that one and put it on my website because I need people to keep asking me about it. That and the Rosebud, which is like a small little toy.
Right.
But it's for me because of my belly and stuff. I can't really use those little tiny toys, but I know a lot of people
Right.
want one. So
Right. Oh, the cool thing about the Inside Out too is that it comes with two different heads for the Womanizer, the pulsating clit action piece. So you can remove it. So if you have a larger clit, there's one that'll fit that. If you have a smaller clit, there's one that'll fit that. And it bends very easily. So if your parts are like, your clit is positioned a little higher up, it'll still, it'll take a little bit to maneuver it a little and find it, all your happy spots all at once. But once you find them, Jesus.
That it had.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a moment.
Good shit. Good shit. Worth every penny. And
baby.
always, the Womanizer products always live up to their hype. I know it's hyped a lot and they're super expensive, but they're really worth it. And don't buy them on Amazon. You don't have to buy them from me, but just don't buy them on Amazon. So Murph and Sydney, I did something stupid. I didn't bring my charger in here, so I don't have a lot of battery time left. So do we have any other questions, Murph?
We do not, but I know that we had started to get some kind of like, like wanting more in depth. So I think we're going to have to do a round two.
Yes.
For the folks, not just as a 101, but like
201.
maybe two.
Right.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, that'd be lovely. That'd be
I'm
lovely.
happy to do it. Happy to do it.
After folks,
I know there's a lot of questions.
There will be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this, and that's going to spur a lot more questions. One of the things I was thinking about is I read a book called Sex at Dawn, and it's not about polyamory, but it's about non-monogamy, and it talks about how non-monogamy is practiced over multiple different cultures across the entire world. And it's a good place to kind of start out, if you're just like really wanting to just dip your toe into like, is this something that's been practiced? Because they talked about how it's been practiced from basically the beginning of time until now.
Sure.
And so
it has.
Yeah. So I think, there's a lot more that once we really, have this go out to everyone, we're going to get a lot of feedback of, okay, now let's talk about specifics, or let's get into the thick of all these kind of
right.
So
yeah.
Like, what's the difference between polygamy and polyandry?
There's a good one.
All that, that's an important one to know. I mean, a lot of people didn't even know that polyandry existed, but it's a thing. And just to be clear, polygamy is when one man has multiple spouses. Polyandry is when one woman has multiple husbands.
Yes, please. No.
Amen. And
Actually,
thank you.
I really want a wife, actually, just because I need help doing shit. But yeah.
There's that poem. There's an essay actually done by Judy. I can't think of her last name, but it's called "I Want a Wife," and she goes into very deep detail about, look, I need a helper because you are not helping me. I need somebody to step in and do all the things that I do, but do it for me instead of what I do for you. Like, it is so good. I highly
Roseanne,
recommend it. Y'all Google the stuffings out of that one.
Roseanne was the first person I ever heard say that line. I need a wife, way back in the 80s. But we are so grateful to you, Sydney. Thank you for all the amazing information. Great questions, Murph. Love it.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
I so appreciate your time and just the expertise of your lived experience and really breaking it down to you know, folks that are new to this and have those misconceptions and have heard those myths and believe the
Yeah.
stereotypes and all that kind of stuff. It's just having a real voice to back up, you know, the legitimacy
Yes.
of polyamory is so important, and to have someone who is just so open and transparent, it's just really appreciated.
And a part of our community.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that was the thing that I really wanted to stress is fat folk are doing this, y'all. Not only are we having sex, because that's another big old myth. Fat people ain't having sex, or if they're having sex, it's because somebody took pity on them. I have never had pity sex unless I was the one giving the pity. Okay.
True.
Oh my goodness. But not only are we out there having sex and having, you know, monogamous relationships, we're having multiple relationships. So please do not feel that your fat is going to limit you. The only way your fat limits you is if you allow it to. And Bouie,
Right.
I'm not for that. I'm all about the fat troublemaker. I'm here to do it.
Gotta stir up the pot, stir up the shit. Absolutely. That's what
Stir it up.
all three of us are, I think, right? We're like change agents. We're all stirring the pot.
Absolutely.
Shit disturbers.
That's right.
I am.
All three of us. And Ashley too.
Maker. That's right. And we're
yes. Hashtag fat troublemaker.
I love it. Yes. Well, thanks again. We're going to wrap this up. Thank you so much, Murph. Great to see you. And
Yes.
I'm just going to say, see you later, alligator.
Well, after crocodile.
Awesome. Bye, ladies. See you soon.
Bye. Thank you